Hello, YouTube. Welcome back to The Backstory, where we're trying to get the backstory on indie games, give a little light to indie game creation stories, and a behind-the-scenes look at what it takes to make a game. My name is Isaac. Today, I have with me John, my co-host.
Hello.
And today, John and I are going to be taking a look at Super Bawk Bawk Chicken by Daytime Devs. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves a little bit?
Hi, my name is Scott, and I'm the 3D artist for Super Bawk Bawk Chicken and Daytime Devs.
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm a programmer on Super Bawk Bawk Chicken and at Daytime Devs.
Hello, I'm Luke. I go by Daylight, and I am a game developer for Daytime Devs.
All right, nice to meet you all. Alrighty, let's get into it then.
So the question I always like to ask is, where did this game come from? Like, what sort of inspirations did it take to make this game? What made you start work on it?
So we've done a lot of prototyping, and one weekend I wanted to make a game for my partner that was heavily mechanical, focused rather than strategy. We were actually doing a different prototype at the time where the cylinder was going up and we were jumping up. So I just flipped it on its side and now you're running along it. And then we put in a chicken model because there was a chicken model asset on Unity assets. And then it just went from there. She came up with the name Super Bawk Bawk Chicken. And then my brothers jumped on board and Scott did all the art and assets. And while I was continue project jumping, Alex stuck with Bawk Bawk, and then we all stuck with it. And it's now turned out to what it is now. It was our first release game.
So here we see that we're chasing after Rascal. Was he in the game from day one, or was he added later as a challenge?
Rascal actually was added later on in the development process, because originally it was just trying to run as far as you can and get a high score every time. And then we thought about adding items and things like that in, and we needed a way to tie them into the game itself. And so we introduced Rascal. I'm sure there's more reasons, but that's the one I can remember.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's no microtransaction store on here? You can't buy anything with real money aside from the game itself?
The game doesn't have any microtransactions or ads in it. It's just a one-time purchase and you get the full game, including all the items. So it's not like people who pay for an item, because there is none of that. It's just you buy the game, you get access to all the items. The only people that would be or have less access to items would be the people just playing the demo. And that still gives you enough items because it gives you the whole first area and all the items in it. And that's enough to be competitive for a free playing.
Alright, well that begets the next question of why did you not want to include microtransactions?
That was a pretty big thing for us in general, knowing that we have a game that pretty much anyone can enjoy. So part of that, growing up, we never had that experience of having to watch an ad to get the next little bit of content or anything like that. And we didn't really want to push that on players because we enjoyed that experience as kids growing up. We enjoyed the fact that we just got access to the full game. And if we really enjoyed it, we just had to work a little bit harder to unlock everything through our skill and improving ourselves in the game. And so that was a big deal for us, and so that made us shy away from adding those kinds of things like microtransactions and pay-to-win type mechanics.
100%. It used to be unlocking items and cool things in games used to be from playing the game and doing cool challenges. And now it can turn into just who buys the best battle pass. And we didn't want that for our game, especially since kids can gravitate towards our game due to the bright colors. That, and having played a lot of mobile games myself, absolutely annoying getting ripped from the game every 30 seconds to watch an ad. So that wasn't really what we wanted.
It does make money though. Unfortunately, the statistics do say that it does make people money.
Yeah, that is definitely true. That's something that we found with this game, is that being a game that works really well on mobile, and it is out on mobile as well, we get into that situation where people say, oh, you probably should have had microtransactions or could have had ads to allow people to give you money without having to pay. And although that's a valid perspective, we really thought we wanted to stick with our guns on this one. We wanted to stick to our initial thoughts and go, let's not include that. We want this game to be fun. It's our first game. It doesn't necessarily have to be successful because it's really a big learning experience from us.
Right, so you kind of touched on this before, but do any of you have history in game development, or otherwise what did you do before coming to this project?
Well, to start off with, I'm a trained software developer, and I do that for my full-time job. But even if you go back to when we were at school, we started making games together and for each other in Game Maker. We've all tried our hand at it, but it definitely stuck with Luke and I more than Scott. Scott was definitely more the artist style, and he would do some art for our games as well, which was good. But yeah, certainly we've been making games for each other for a long time. And throughout the years, we have sort of developed this family tradition that we call Quizmas, where we make quizzes and/or games for each other every Christmas. And it turns out to be a time where we get together, and instead of just like getting together and eating food, which is still fun, we do that and we quiz each other on random things, or we play games together that we made for each other and that kind of thing. So we've always had like this history of building games in prototype form, but never releasing them. And that's kind of how this one started as well. It was a prototype that we just made for each other, or as Luke said before, he made it for his partner. But then we thought, okay, this one actually has scope that we could probably ship with and we could finish. Because a lot of our ideas are very, very big scope. And that's one of the things that we struggle with is this going to be too big for us to make and finish?
Yeah, I understand.
Certainly with this game, even, we feel like we can add so much more. Like our ideas list is way, way longer than what we'll ever be able to implement. But we've had to make pretty harsh decisions on what gets shipped and what doesn't, just to make sure that we could actually deliver something in a reasonable time frame.
As for myself, I stuck to the more art style of making games. So I taught myself the 3D software Blender, and for the last 5 or 6 years now, just started as a hobby. And then as these guys were talking about making games and actually shipping one, I was like, well, I do have these skills in 3D art to be able to make these assets, so I could do that if we wanted it,
Yeah,
completely
handyman.
different to what my normal what I'm more experienced in, I guess.
And to finish the set, if we're going through all three of us, I have a science degree in immunology and virology, but most of my work was for computers, information system technician, and basically then I had been making games my whole life. But yeah, I even worked for Scott as his handyman assistant for a bit there. So we've all had quite a range of jobs. And I guess it's just coming back to doing what we love and trying to make it a job for us if we can.
So we talked a little bit about Clucky and where she came from. What about Wesley? Where did he come from?
It's a little bit of a meme that we have when we play games together, because being brothers, we just absolutely love playing games together. And whether it be Borderlands or Diablo or whatever have you, there's a bit of a meme where I'm always in the shop. And so the Wesley character is a little bit based on me. I'm the oldest brother as well, so I'm the old one out of the three of us. And I'm always in the shop. And so it's kind of we just thought, let's do that. But then at the same time, we thought, this guy is literally trading eggs with a chicken for items. And that can be good, but at the same time, there's a little bit of oddness to that, because what is he doing with the eggs once you give him the eggs? So we kind of wanted to do a weasel, because weasels are kind of known for, being maybe not always upfront about their intentions. So that's kind of where we went from with the character choice and design. But I do the voice for Wesley, and I consider myself an old man, so it works. I ended up recording the sound effect with a chopstick in my mouth to make sure that it seemed like I actually had a piece of hay in my mouth. It made it very hard to pronounce words properly.
I suppose that's authenticity then.
That's right. It's all for 100% realism. That's what this game's going for.
Right, okay. So I met you three at the Penny Arcade exhibition in Melbourne, both this year and last year, I believe.
What was it like trying to get into being an exhibitor at that convention?
It wasn't too stressful. We applied to be a part of the exhibition, and our first time we went was last year, and this year was our second time. More or less, it was like kind of just we had to make sure that we could fund ourselves being there because it is in Melbourne and we're from South Australia, so we had to make sure we could get there and then also pay the booth stall fees and all that kind of stuff, especially last year. This year we were helped out by the South Australian government for the fees of the stall, so that was awesome. But yeah, certainly like last year we just paid for ourselves to go there, and we didn't 100% know what to expect, but we just sort of planned ahead and had so much fun that we really wanted to go back there a second time, so we went back again this year.
So is this the first convention that you guys have exhibited at?
So we did exhibit in AvCon prior to going to PAX. So we had exhibited before. It was more like we had actually never been to PAX. Even as a person just going to PAX, we just have never been. So it was a completely new experience for us the first time round. And that was so much fun because even seeing the enforcers when they do their thing at the end of the day and clear everyone out, that was just so exciting. I loved it. And it was just so new and everything was so, it was overwhelmingly fun.
Could you elaborate a bit more on what you mean by fun? How is it fun to exhibit the game?
Something that specifically made a big deal for me was seeing the players. I'm sure it made a big deal for everyone, but seeing people pick up the game, try it out, and then they'll have questions for you, and we can answer them, and just having a quick chat about the game, and that kind of friendly interaction. It was a lot of fun, watching people play the game, and then come back to you and say, "I really liked that game. That was really fun. Where can I get it?" That kind of stuff. It was quite rewarding in a sense. After the roughly 4 years that we've been in development for the game, kind of was like, oh, okay, yeah, this, doesn't just appeal to us three. It appeals to a broader audience.
Definitely, along with that, it increases our motivation to want to then do updates or release it on a new platform, or so just being able to see players play it helps.
Just to add to that, the other part of the fun was the whole energy of an event like PAX that they bring. Before they open the doors, they have that waiting hall with all the big line in it, and everyone's sort of getting really hyped up. And so it's a very high energy event, and that was such a fun experience to be in amongst. We don't do a lot of high energy events ourselves, so when we go to them, it's like, whoa, this is amazing. There's just so much energy in the room, really. But as well as that, we did really enjoy meeting other developers and other people in the industry. So many people came up to us and talked to us about their games, or we went over and talked to them about their games. We exchanged tips and tricks and everything like that. So it was really nice meeting very friendly industry people who were happy to talk to us, happy to, streamers as well. They came up to us and I'd love to stream this game. I love chickens. They're here's a Stinky. It was just a lot of fun talking to all the different people and meeting them. And learning more about game dev and learning more about other people's journeys too.
Just seeing the players play is a big learning experience as well, which is always fun for me because it helps you design better games in the future, and to see if your current designs work and what doesn't work, and then so you can improve from there.
Yeah, getting that live playtest. I think you've mentioned having your partners playtest the game before, but during development, were you able to get many people to help you playtest?
We started with family, and that's definitely the first kind of test group we had. We did take it to one event that we have in South Australia here that's a catch-up event for game devs, where you can show off your game. But that was quite late in the piece. We'd already sort of got to the part where we started polishing the game, essentially, before we showed it to anyone. But yeah, we have, I don't know, not massive, but quite a few friends that we shared the game with too and got feedback. I was taking every other build into work and asking people in the lunch break or after work, hey, can you just try this out and let me know what you think? Because I work in a place where we work on websites and apps. So getting feedback from people about the accessibility or the UI and all that kind of stuff was really helpful early on to make sure that we got it right.
And I suppose then the people you met at PAX would have been from different demographics that maybe you hadn't had a chance to test with.
Yeah, definitely, that's correct. And especially the first event we went to was AvCon in 2023 with the game, and seeing how much kids liked it was amazing. It was it was really fun because people, especially some of the kids, they came back and played it like 6 times in a day. And that just, to us, that was really, really nice. Because we saw someone who genuinely really liked this game wanting to come back and play it more. And that was a real big boost for us.
Or they'd sit on it for like an hour and we're like, it's awesome that you enjoy the game, but we also need others too. But like, we can't kick off a kid. So that was funny. We also had some in one of the events, like we went to Sage, which is another South Australian event. And we had a group of lawyers just come up and they decided, because they were at the event as well, they were like, we're just going to have everyone on our team run through and try and get the high score. So they ended up making their own competition.
Okay.
And what another key one that I remember is that in the second AFCON, so this year, we had 2 sisters come up that were teenagers, and they were just like, they said that Bawk Bawk was a huge thing in their house, and that they had played over 500 hours. And I was just bamboozled. I was like, we're potentially someone's childhood game there. Like, that's awesome to hear. So that was definitely a big highlight, and I was making sure I let everyone know.
I thought you said you were making sure that they were all right.
Oh, so yeah. Well, I mean, that too. Like, after 500 hours of Bawk Bawk, you got to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah, but
Before
he's
we end,
quite
I absolutely
tricky.
have to note on this, because I've just noticed that the music in this level is actually a banger. So, who did the music for this game? Where did the inspiration for that come from? And why is this song so good?
Well, like all of them, I feel like are really good, but I do have a special sweet spot for the Halloween area. But it was Chris Norton who was the composer for the music of our game. He approached us pretty early on and said, "Oh, I really like the game," and he was like, "Well, I would like to show you some stuff that that you could use for music." And we thought, yeah, he fit the what his style was, really fit the game. In terms of inspirations, a lot of that came from the Nintendo's soundtracks that you would get from those old games. We took a lot of our inspiration from the Nintendo 64 kind of era that we grew up playing, and the older kind of games and the wackiness that they have, like Crash Bandicoot, all the Mario games, all the just the Nintendo 64 era, and just how crazy, or Banjo-Kazooie, that's another one. We just like the wackiness of those, and so we tried to bring that forward in our game because we wanted it to be fun and quirky and kind of just bright and colorful, but also just a whole bunch of fun.
This Haunting Horrors one that you liked, that we came up with a list of Halloween stuff, and I think the top of it was like Tim Burton movie vibes, like Nightmare Before Christmas and all those.
Scooby-Doo, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stuff that's necessarily kid friendly, but also spooky in a sense,
So did you take this to Chris and say, "Hey, we want a Scooby-Doo marimba-esque soundtrack," and he said, "Don't worry, I got you, fam"?
More or less.
Pretty much.
We didn't say the marimba specifically, but we said, yeah, this is what we're thinking of. And he's amazing at turning what we wanted into reality. And to be honest, at least at the start with the first 5 areas, we didn't really know what we wanted. We had a big old playlist of all just sort of mixture between farm, mixture between Nintendo 64 games, all that kind of stuff. And then we were like, this is what we're thinking in terms of vibes. And he put together something that when we heard the first version of it, we were like, we're in love. So yes, let's go with this.
I'd like to highlight the Messy Muds area, because basically how you put that question, we did that where Scott requested a solo for, what was it, cowbell solo. Cowbell. And Chris just went, "No worries, I got you." And he's made an awesome cowbell solo in the middle of the Messy Muds song.
What was the name of that instrument that is in the muddy area, Alex? Or
jaw harp?
Yeah, that really adds that kind of squelchy kind of vibe to the area.
But regarding that jaw harp, just on that, Chris learned that. He bought a jaw harp and learned how to play it for the soundtrack. And I think that's very impressive. The level of effort he was willing to go to make this thing sound good, it was greatly appreciated.
Yeah, we definitely have to tip our hat to his ability to create what like sounds out of all the direction he was given.
Yeah, this does sound wet and muddy. I gotta admit.
Yeah. I think this also has some of the best sounds in that we created when we were doing the sound design and stuff. Like there's the pigs, the oink. They're quite loud. They get in your ear and it's all in your ear. But also like the frogs, we had a lot of fun with the frogs and the capybaras making the little eeps, that they do. Some of the things we had to kind of make different noises to what they would in real life because the noises that they made in real life were like really quite difficult to make, or it just sounded like too samey.
Was that like turtles squeaking or something? And we're like, that's not
turtles
what a turtle
make a bit of
like.
Turtles
a weird noise.
Squeak in the game.
But
along with sounds, like we didn't have a fancy recording studio, so we just bought a plug-in mic to our phone and then chucked ourselves under blankets and started recording, mostly laughing at each other, making noises. But we were like, we had a big list of like, we need tortoises, pigs, all sorts, and we just went down the list one by one. I really wish we ordered the list a little bit better so that it was all the low stuff last, because by the end of it your voice was wrecked, or even like halfway through your voice was wrecked. But it was a lot of fun.
So we're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you again for coming on. I hope you guys had a great time.
Yeah, we had a great time.
We did. Thank you very much.
If any of you watching would like to play Super Bawk Bawk for yourself, there'll be links in the description to the game and all of Daytime Dev's socials. If you're a developer and you would like your game to be on the show, we also have a Google form below that you can fill out to get in contact with the backstory. Finally, if you like the channel, subs, likes, and comments are always appreciated. We also have a Discord group. But until then, we'll catch you in the next episode.
Nice.
Big round of applause. Thank you very much.
Yay, the performance
Thank
is
you very
over.
much. Yeah,